time for another review by taprun.com. Today we'll be looking at Zane's Content. Will he be content with our review? Let's find out. Upon opening the site, we see the big phrase, quality writing guaranteed. And I like that. Right away we know what he's selling. He's selling quality writing. And then a little bit below that, we write your content and your business grows. I have mixed feelings about this. On the one hand, I really like how he tries to associate what he provides, the content, with what businesses probably want to grow. Unfortunately, it's not really obvious how one goes from having content to having a business that grows, but hopefully we'll learn further on as we read on. Immediately below that, we have two buttons, Get Content or Monthly Content. I feel like it's a little bit premature to start pitching. I've seen this on a number of sites. But to pitch this early on when we barely know what it is that Zane's Content provides is putting the cart before the horse. Nevertheless, let's take a look. Get Content. Immediately we're presented with a basic form, name, email address. Many of these fields are quite appropriate for ordering things. What are you looking for? Okay, we have options there. Different service levels. Unfortunately, because these buttons are placed so high, we don't quite know what these service levels correspond to, but we can pick the service level, how many articles, and how many words. Again, a little bit of confusion. It's not clear if the number of words refers to each article or the total number of words in all the articles together. And finally, an order description. And what's nice is as we change our requests, we will auto-calculate the price so we know exactly how much it's going to cost before we try placing an order. One thing to note is that upon checkout, we would arrive at a PayPal page, which may look a little bit less professional for some, but a minor quibble, I think. Let's proceed on. Rather than asking for a one-time content load, customer can also ask for monthly content, and you'll see many of the same fields. The only difference is you'll be billed on a monthly basis rather than on a one-time basis, and you will get 5% off each article. I suspect that 5% is really far too little to make a difference in terms of what someone is going to buy, especially upon the first time buying. I would imagine that someone would definitely want to try out a service before going for a monthly deal, especially with only 5% off. I did notice that much like the other fields, this is a very simple field to look at, but there were a lot of missed opportunities for upsells. What if I were to need some wording or some documents very quickly? It's very easy to expect companies to charge more for faster delivery or to charge more for significantly more graphical representations, perhaps more images, more diagrams in the documentation. But the simplicity of this form precludes them from all these possibilities at increased revenue. And I think that's a mistake, but perhaps this is a fresh shot and they're just trying to keep it simple. Let's go on. The About Us section, I think, is vital to any business on the web. And I think the About Us section really missed the mark here because, as you can see, we learn very little about who us is. We hear that content is king, and okay, I'm not going to disagree with that. And they have native English content writers delivering the content quickly because nobody waits. I think that if they're really trying to go for this whole we are experts in English, they need to pay more attention to the actual English used on the site. One quick example right here is the word native. Probably shouldn't be capitalized. And I'll talk about some of the other spelling and grammatical mistakes later on in this podcast. In any case, further on we have a video, and unfortunately this video doesn't really add very much to the understanding of what is being sold by the company. It's simply an animated logo. We'll skip that and continue on. This is a section that you'll find on many websites. You'll have 3 graphical images, and each one will describe some aspect of the company. Here we have first priority. We care about our clients. We are only satisfied when we know that you are. Okay, I mean, that's not a problem. I think many companies use those types of words in an empty fashion, but that's fine. Obsession, high quality. We are fully dedicated to ensure the content you receive is beyond expectations in terms of quality. Our writers are only U.S. natives who have a thorough experience in writing. Now, I know for a fact that they are willing to employ non-U.S. natives, and I'll demonstrate that in a bit. But it's very important to have consistency on a website. As soon as a visitor can see some things that don't quite add up and some conflicting statements, a website owner really begins to lose a lot of credibility. And here we have another promise, fast turnaround. Unfortunately, again, this is somewhat of an empty promise. Here we see that fast turnaround is important, but they really lost the potential for making their case, because there's no word here that says how fast, how many days, what's the average turnaround, what's the median turnaround, how long do people wait. Here it just says it's fast, and frankly, my version of fast might be different than yours. So in my mind, that doesn't even mean anything to me. Scrolling down, we have we search engine optimize our content to get you on the front page of Google. Finally, we have a concrete promise, something that they are going to do that, at least in my mind, would get people to a business objective. If you're on the front page of Google for important terms, that's fantastic. Unfortunately, they don't go on to describe that. At the prices that they offer, and we'll get to this in a minute, I would be thrilled to pay what they're charging to get to the front page of Google for the term marketing. Unfortunately, I don't think they're going to be able to rank me that highly. Companies for the term marketing probably have budgets well into the millions each and every year. And here we have their guarantee. I think it's very important for companies to guarantee their work. It shows a certain level of confidence in their offerings. I think these guarantees, though, go well beyond what is considered reasonable in favor of the customer. Unlimited revisions for the content you order. I think unlimited anything is just too much. I would have crossed that out, because unlimited revisions could take thousands, 10,000s, even hundreds of thousands of dollars to fulfill. A simple 100% money back guaranteed for any reason you may have would have quite fit the bill and alleviated any concerns on the part of the buyer. And before we continue on, I must comment on this graphic here, this phone. It looks like a coverage map for various cell phone providers in the United States of America. And I think I understand the word coverage. We've got you covered. But I think much better would be to have a picture of a Google search demonstrating a certain term that they have helped a company rank for. Even a term that's not particularly in demand would at least get people thinking, okay, they actually do rank, and reaffirm the message that the company search engine optimizes their content to get people on the front page of Google. We would scroll down further. We finally get into pricing, and this is the part obviously that interests me the most. They have 3 tiers of pricing, which is great, and they have each tier offering somewhat different product descriptions, which again is great. By having different tiers, they can target different markets. Pricing increases, as we can see on this page. And I think there are a couple of interesting things to see here. Obviously, they all have the same guarantee, that's fine. But there are some nice portions. For instance, this proofreading portion. The basic version gets proofreading by a writer, whereas the more expensive and pricey options are by an editing team. I think this is a really great way to get buyers to consider paying for the more expensive packages. As any writer knows, and I am obviously no exception, it is very difficult for someone to proof his own work. So by having an editing team review the work, customers are more likely to get documents with fewer defects. Fantastic. The level of research here changes for each and every tier: light, deep, and very deep. It's not clear to me exactly what that entails. I think a better description would be helpful. Level of research basic might be none. A level of research plus, perhaps 10 minutes worth of reading for every 1,000 words. Very deep, perhaps an hour of reading for every 1,000 words. Some way to really understand what the difference is between the tiers might justify someone from jumping from basic to plus or from plus to gold. Right now, there really isn't any description of what the differences are. Basic SEO articles, product descriptions, included in all packages. I'm not sure what it means, but I guess it doesn't hurt to have it, although it does take away attention from some of the other fields that are probably more important to readers, such as the money-back guarantee. Engaging blog posts. This is a very strange thing to add, as many of the documents that can be ordered are not, in fact, blog posts, but apparently, at the basic level, one cannot get an engaging blog post. Likewise, one cannot get a press release, and ebooks are limited only to the gold level, along with sales letters. Turnaround time. Finally, we're getting some actual clarification about what the fast delivery means. Unfortunately, it's not clear how this works. For basic turnaround time, 5,000 words in 2 to 3 business days. Does that mean 10,000 words will take twice as long? Or does that mean that there's a minimum of 5,000 words to receive something in 2 to 3 business days? It's not clear exactly how this works, and I think a little bit of clarification would probably help people understand what they are getting into. I think, unfortunately, the biggest problem of all in this pricing page has to do with the samples. I think it's great that they have samples of the 3 different tiers: basic, plus, and gold. But unfortunately, they missed an opportunity for ease of comparison. I think it would have been great if each sample had been on the same topic. Unfortunately, each sample is on a different topic. As we can see, the basic sample is very simple. Is the iPhone 5S really worth it? And the writing is fairly simple as it goes. We have a plus sample. This is very interesting in that, not in so much in terms of the text, but the fact that a picture has been added to this. This is the only sample with an actual picture, and yet there's no way to actually request a picture or to even be upsold to having pictures, as I mentioned earlier. But I want to give the most attention to the gold sample. This really is the cream of the crop of what is offered by this company. And this has, for instance, the most research and the best editing. Unfortunately, even just with a simple viewing, I found a number of mistakes. And just as a couple of examples, here's one example of a typo. Soliloquies is not actually spelled that way. Another example, negative of his race. Something the editors certainly should have caught. And of course, here's yet one further, different perceptions of him. Now, it's not a matter of having mistakes on a website. Everybody does that. But when you're offering native English speakers for professional writing, and you are proclaiming that it is worth paying the extra bit of money to have editors review the documents, it is essential that the samples, if not the actual work produced, but the samples are free of errors, and that is not actually the case. When we scroll down, There's a contact form, makes sense, but that's not it. I wanted to take a look around, so I actually clicked in a few other places. The blog. Blog always interests me. Let's take a peek. There's no blog content, and I think this is really indefensible for a writing company that produces content. Given the rates that are being charged and the fact that they're making a profit upon them, they could easily afford to at least put a few blog posts up, which would be, again, a further demonstration of the writing ability and also a demonstration that, yes, they are able to produce content on a regular basis. The worst flags came up when I looked at writer's apply. Become a writer for Zane's content today. Get approved in minutes. As someone who wants to get the best writers, get quality writers, as they said so prominently at the top of their page, I do not want my writers to be approved in minutes. I would like some kind of process in place where they submit samples and the quality is checked for by Zane's Content. And then here is another red flag. We hire native English speakers located in the following countries: USA, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and UK. As many of you may remember, I pointed out earlier that they promised to only hire English speakers in the United States of America. So suddenly, again, the documentation does not seem to be consistent throughout the entire website. Overall, I think this is a very interesting business. I think that there's certainly money in creating content. Unfortunately, I think that the business has to be more honest with what it's offering. When we entered this page, we saw quality content, but I suspect at the rates that are being offered and seeing the samples which have been generated, I suspect this site is more for people who just need content, don't need quality content, they need content. And I think a better pitch would be, we produce a lot of content cheaply for your website. Suddenly, that'll get the right customers looking at what they offer and making a decision. Because taking their words and saying they are offering quality is kind of a disservice to all parties involved. Parties that want high quality are going to be displeased and will either take up their offer on 100% back guarantee or on the unlimited rewrites. And the people who just want content will say, no, I'll search anywhere else because I want to pay the least amount possible. They're not even going to get to the pricing page. That said, I am fascinated by this business, and hopefully they will integrate some of my feedback, and I look forward to seeing their next version.